Hello, sports fans, and welcome to Blue Collar Sports Talk. Here's a quick rundown of what we're going to talk about on today's show. Husker volleyball. We'll talk a little Husker women's basketball. The Husker football team also is on the road to Wisconsin. Roger and I will have a little discussion about the college football playoffs and the top 4 teams. We'll also discuss some NFL play. We'll touch on the NBA. And now, here's our show. Hello, sports fans. Welcome to another edition of Blue Collar Sports Talk. You got Darrell here with you.
Yeah, and Roger.
Got Roger here. And we're going to go right into Husker volleyball. One of our true freshmen won Big Ten Freshman of the Week. Again, Andy Jackson is a true freshman. Kind of a fun story how she came here. We had a former Husker in Colorado give John Cook the heads up when not a lot of other schools were talking about her, and that's how she got to become a Husker. So, Andy Jackson, congratulations on being Big Ten co-freshman of the week. Another Big Ten freshman also earned honors, so that's why she's co-freshman. Some upcoming matches. Tonight, we're at home against Michigan for the Huskers. We're still undefeated. Let's hope that continues. Sunday, we're on the road to Iowa. Just a short trip up the road to Iowa. That's on Sunday. And I know everybody, or at least I am, is getting ready for next Friday when we battle Wisconsin again.
Yeah.
And that is 3 p.m. next Friday. That's on Big Ten Network. Sunday's matchup against Iowa is on Big Ten Plus, and tonight against Michigan is on Big Ten Fox Sports app. So if you're a volleyball fan, definitely check it out. They are fun to watch. They're amazing and completely undefeated. So let's hope that keeps rolling to Wisconsin.
Yes.
Our women's basketball team has been playing lights out already as well. Alexis Markowski is already, again, a double-double machine. Against Wyoming, she had 13 rebounds, 17 points. And let's see here, against Alcorn State, she had 9 rebounds and 20 points, so just one shy of a double-double there. But our Lady Huskers on Sunday, if you want something to do, go to Pinnacle Bank. We take on number 22, Creighton. And it is being called, what did they call that? Wear Red and Be Loud, I believe. So that should be a fun thing to do on Sunday. Switching over to Husker football. This Saturday, we have the Husker football at Wisconsin. The line was, let's see, a few days ago, the line was 4.5 Wisconsin, overs and unders at 36.5.
Yeah, I've seen that go as high as 6 now with Wisconsin. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It has. It has gone up to 6.
Yeah.
Because I did this a couple days ago when I typed that out. So it is. It's up to 6, Wisconsin, and the overs and unders are still at 36.5. I don't know. What do you think of this, Roger? Wisconsin's on a 3-game losing streak. Nebraska's on a 2-game losing streak. We lost to Maryland and Michigan State. In my mind, these are both games we should have won. How did Wisconsin lose to Northwestern Indiana? I mean, I understand how they lost to Ohio State, but this should be a tough battle between two teams who some games just can't figure it out.
I don't know. You watch football, especially the Big Ten West, and it just seems like none of these teams want to win. Even 2 weeks ago, we were in a 4-game tie with Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. And now we've all lost. Minnesota, Wisconsin, Nebraska's both lost. All 3 teams have lost their last 2 games, and Iowa's won. So now Iowa's sitting in the driver's seat to win the Big Ten West, of course.
Right.
Now, I mean, who knows what's going to happen? Iowa could lose their next 2 games. I mean, they can't score. They're the best team in the Big Ten West, and they can't score. So it baffles me on how bad this Big Ten West really is.
Iowa's a weird story because their head coach hired his son to be offensive coordinator, and the university didn't like it so much that they put in a clause in his contract that if they didn't score X amount of points or averaged X amount of points on offense, that he would be gone. And they've already decided you're not coming back next year.
Yeah.
We'll see if his dad is also the head coach or if Iowa decides to go in a different direction. But
yeah. So.
And that's so Nebraska plays Wisconsin this week and Nebraska plays Iowa next week. So we have to win to be bowl eligible.
At least one of them.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know if we get it done, which is unfortunate because we've had a couple games where we should have won. I think we should have beat Maryland. We had it. We should have beat Michigan State. We had it.
Yeah.
The team that we have both played in the Big Ten, we've both have beat Illinois. The Huskers allowed only 7 points and Wisconsin allowed 21. So in looking at that, I'm hoping that we can limit the Badgers and score more points because our defense ranks around the top 13 or 14th, depending on what website you use for points allowed. But our offense is 114th in the nation out of 133 teams. We are not even averaging 19 points a game. That's horrible.
Yeah.
And Wisconsin is 20th in defense, so they also have a good defense. They hold their opponents to 19.6 points a game, and the Badgers are ranked ahead of us in offense. They're ranked 95th. They can score at least 22 points on average a game. So if you look at that stat right there, it doesn't look good.
Yeah, and the fact that we're going to Wisconsin, that buys them another field goal, so.
Yeah, Randall's going to be loud.
It's probably 6 points is probably about right. I expect it to be a one-score game, so I don't, I have no idea that if Nebraska can keep it within a field goal and cover that spread. But, we'll see. When you got two teams playing the way these two teams are playing, I mean, I guess it just comes down to whichever team makes the most mistakes is going to lose,
Yeah. Our team is pretty good at making mistakes.
Because, neither one of them are going to play good enough to win. It's just whoever plays the worst is going to lose.
Right. I haven't heard yet. Is Harburg starting? Is he still questionable?
Yeah, I don't think they know. I don't think, I haven't heard anything. My guess is it would be Harburg to start out, but they would be really quick to pull him and put Purdy in. Because I don't think they put Sims in before Purdy, but who knows? I haven't heard, so I don't really know.
I doubt this happens. I would like to see them utilize Sims' running ability in the option, use him as an additional either fullback or running back, and try a couple triple option plays where he's one of your pitch options, because I really think that that's where he shines as a true running quarterback. His decision-making when it comes to throwing and reading defenses, it's not there. And, honestly, Harburg's really isn't that much better either. He just can control when he decides to throw, whereas Sims really tries to throw it into multiple coverages or underthrows or overthrows always. So this will be an interesting game. I really hope that the Huskers can get it done on the road. I'm right there with you. I think it'll be a one-score game. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say the Huskers get it done on the road for whatever reason. Rule somehow lights a fire under him and says, you guys are going to get it done. You guys have everything you need to get it done. So that's where I'm headed with it. So looking at some other games in college football, Georgia plays Tennessee. That could be interesting as Tennessee is ranked. I don't see Georgia faltering and losing to Tennessee. Crazier things have happened, though. Georgia just looks so tough. And then you have Michigan at Maryland. I really don't think it matters that Harbaugh is suspended. I just think they roll right over Maryland. Minnesota coming into Ohio State. I don't see Ohio State having an issue with that. And then North Alabama. That would be the craziest upset ever. And again, so I don't see Florida State having an issue with them. what I found interesting when I was looking at all these games, depending on what website you look at, the strength of schedule, Georgia could be strength of schedule number 21. Michigan is 10. Florida State's 13. Ohio State is 6. And that's by teamrankings.com. But if you go to maybe Power Rankings Guru, they'll have Purdue as the number 1 strength of schedule and Alabama as 2 and LSU as 3. But then you look at the College Football Committee's strength of schedule and it's completely different. So if this were the 12-team college football playoff start this year, you would have potentially Penn State, if it happened right now, in at number 12, Oregon State in at 11, Louisville in at 10, Missouri 9, Alabama 8, Texas 7, Oregon 6, and Washington 5. I bring that up because there's a potential for both Ohio State and Michigan to have a loss, potentially one or the other, potentially both. I doubt both, but potentially one. And I still think a one-loss Big Ten Ohio State or a one-loss Big Ten Michigan gets in before an undefeated Washington. What do you think?
I don't think. I don't know. I can't make that call on that one. The Big Ten is not real strong this year, and I know the Pac-12 is not real strong in the last 4 or 5 weeks. I mean, all the teams that were being ranked, I mean, they're all losing. I don't know who they got as the tougher conference. I would still think that they would keep a Washington, an undefeated Washington up there ahead of a one-loss Big Ten. But who knows what the committee all thinks about, what they all sit back and think.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely could. Right now, Washington is number 5 on the college football playoff rankings. So if you go by this week's college football rankings for the college football playoffs, Washington would be in.
Yeah.
But when push comes to shove, are they going to adjust the rankings? So Ohio State would move to 2 if they lose to Michigan, or Michigan would move to 4 if they lose to Ohio State, which would move Florida State up to 3. So that's why, in my mind, I don't think either one of those teams. Michigan would have to drop 2 spots. If Ohio State loses, they would have to drop 3 spots, and that would allow Washington to come in.
Yeah.
You're right, Roger. I don't know either. I truly don't. I just this is honestly a crapshoot.
Yeah, there's 2 weeks left, and the conference championship games. I still say if Alabama would run the table and have one loss, that they would be the top one-loss team in the nation. You know, because of course they would have to play a team like Georgia in the SEC championship game, and of course if they would pull that win off, then they would leapfrog everybody.
Okay, let's play that scenario. So Alabama plays Georgia.
Yeah.
So there's one more week to play yet before that even happens.
Yeah.
So or 2 more games, however you want to look at it. So Alabama is right now 8. So they would jump over Texas, a one-loss team, Oregon, a one-loss team, and somehow Washington, the undefeated, and into that 4th spot after they defeated Georgia. So then who would drop out? Florida State or the one-loss Big Ten team?
Well, I don't know if Alabama can do enough to leapfrog any undefeated team to get into that top 4. But if there was, room for a one-loss team, that's when I think Alabama would get up there. But I'm just saying that I think if Alabama would run the table and win the SEC championship game, that they would be the top one-loss team.
Oh, okay.
Well, maybe except for Georgia. Then you would see 2 SEC teams up there, But, I mean, how would you not jump Alabama ahead of Georgia if they beat them head to head. But
And that's the great thing about asking about this, because we have no idea what the College Football Playoff Committee will do.
Yeah.
Because in all reality, if Georgia loses in the SEC, would they still stay in? Like what happened to TCU last year? TCU lost in the Big 12 championship, and then they still got in there.
Made it to the playoff, yeah.
And I wanted to bring that up because when you look at what TCU did to Michigan, had Michigan not gotten anybody to any TCU games to scout them to find out what their signals were. So, maybe the NCAA should focus on that and look at any of the tape that they have on TCU. And because TCU dismantled Michigan somehow.
Yeah. Michigan couldn't stop them. Yeah.
And then TCU laid an egg their next game. But fun times. I know. So we still have Georgia undefeated, Ohio State undefeated, Michigan undefeated, Florida State undefeated, and Washington undefeated. And honestly, if you listen to anybody that's talking sports right now, that's really what they're talking about. Like, okay, what do you do with that 15 that's undefeated?
Yeah.
Especially if someone goes into their conference championship and loses, and the previous week they were undefeated.
Yeah. Well, earlier this week, Washington travels to Oregon State this week and plays them. And earlier in the week, Oregon State was a slight favorite over Washington. Now I believe it's a pick'em game or an even game. But earlier this week, Oregon State was like a 1.5 favorite.
They are favored. I'm looking at the line right now. It's Oregon State by 1 because they're at home.
Yep.
And the odds makers have the overs and unders at 62.5.
Yep.
And if you go to another site, they have Washington even, but then they also have Oregon State at minus 120. So this is going to be an interesting game because both quarterbacks could potentially be Heisman frontrunners in votes for Oregon State. Oregon State's quarterback has over 2,200 yards on the season, 20 touchdowns to only 4 interceptions. And Penix Jr. for Washington, almost 3,600 yards, 28 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. So it should be a slugfest between very high-powered offenses. And earlier in the season, we were talking about how the Pac-12 might have one of the best conferences. I'm going to say the Pac-12 might have some of the best offenses. And the defensive side makes me wonder, are the defenses that bad or are the offenses that good that it's just almost impossible to stop these guys? So if you want to watch a game with a lot of scoring, this Pac-12 matchup with the Huskies and Oregon State Beavers, wow. I think that should be a barn burner. Roger, any more on the college football scene that you want to talk about?
No, I don't see anything that strike well, except for Georgia did leapfrog Ohio State to move to that number 1 spot in the college football playoff.
Very true. Up until previously, it was Ohio State at the number 1 spot. Now Georgia does have the number 1 spot in the college football playoff.
And then Jim Harbaugh withdrew his appeal for getting suspended.
I saw that.
He's taken his penalty and going to sit out the next 3 games. But they felt like he had a great case and that he was going to go there and the judge was going to allow him to coach. But somehow he decided not to go through with it and just withdrew his appeal. So
when I saw that he withdrew, I wonder if they presented him with a little bit, hey, this is what the evidence that we have.
Yeah.
And he went, oh, okay. You know more than I thought you did. Never mind.
Yep.
But who knows what will happen. I don't think the NCAA does anything until next year, if they do anything, since the Big Ten reached out and slapped his hand and said, you're naughty boy. Staying in the football realm, NFL. Before we get to the NFL, I want to plug a show that I have nothing to do with, but I can't wait to watch. And let's see, today is the 17th. On November, 21st. On November 21st, if you have access to Prime and you're a football fan and you loved watching Barry Sanders, see if you can check out this documentary that they made, and it's called Bye Bye Barry. It's a story about how he just walked away from football at the top of his game. And they even talked to Barry. So I can't wait because I want to hear his side about why he decided to step away from football. And that will air November 21st on Prime. So I can't wait. Personally, I can't wait to watch that show.
It sounds interesting. I like I said, I of course watch Barry Sanders, and I used to love his game, and I think he's the greatest running back of all time. And for him just to pack it up with all the records basically within reach of him breaking, and he just packed it up and said no more. So I'm interested in seeing why exactly he did it.
Yeah, me too. He was such a prolific runner. He either made just an amazing gain, or somehow they accidentally tackled him in the backfield.
Yeah.
Because the Lions, their offensive line was horrible. I felt so sorry for that guy. If he would have been on a better team, what he could have done, he would have been a 10 times better stat machine if he would have had an offensive line. So, but he was also great for Detroit. I understand why all the Detroit fans loved him, because he was amazing to watch. And even if you weren't a Detroit Lions fan, you loved watching a Barry Sanders game. Even going back to when he was in college at Oklahoma State, Nebraska had to play him when that was still in the Big 8 time frame. The guy was electric on the football field. As soon as he touched that ball, you're just like, oh my gosh, what's he going to do? Spin out of tackles, you start to hit him, and as soon as you start to hit him, he's thinking about, I need to spin out of this or somehow juke in 3 different directions in a half a second. Okay, that was my plug for a show I have nothing to do with, but if you're a fan of the football, I'm sure you'll want to check that out. So, Roger, I'm going to kick it to you. You had mentioned you wanted to talk about the NFL.
Yeah, I just the gameplay in the NFL this year. I mean, NFL kind of sells their product on quarterback play and, offensive and scoring points. And just this year, it's just been kind of down. I mean, Pat Mahomes, his stats ain't Pat Mahomes like stats. And then Josh Allen's not winning. A lot of quarterbacks getting hurt. It's just, I don't know. It's just down this year. It is. I mean, I've talked about it now for a few weeks, and it's just kind of a down year for the NFL. I mean, they send these games overseas to kind of entertain the international fans, and they haven't been showing the international fans some of their best product. Let's just put it that way. So,
yeah, you'd mentioned the Bills. They're playing on. Let's see. They are playing the Jets, and let's see. They're only favored by 7. The Bills are 5-5. The Jets are 4-5, and the Jets have a horrible offensive line. I talked about how bad the Detroit Lions offensive line was back in the day for Barry Sanders, and I think the Jets' offensive line might be just as bad.
Yeah,
in my mind, that's what got Brett Favre hurt. Yeah, he was running around outside the pocket, but
you mean Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, I said Brett Favre again, didn't I?
Yep. Yep.
Whenever I think Aaron Rodgers, I talk directly about Brett Favre's name. I don't know why that is. But you're right. The quarterback play, and with the Jets playing the Bills, who's to say it's not a repeat of what happened the very first game of the season? That somehow the Jets beat the Bills.
Yeah, and there's rumors that Aaron Rodgers wants to come back in November yet.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I saw that he was saying he wants to come back after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so we'll see. I don't think he does. I think that's just trying to get the Jets fans a little fired up. I'm not saying he don't come back this year, but I don't think he'll be back in November yet. But
if he comes back and he rushes and he's not completely healed, I can see it. He has that mentality where he can get anything done. And then you mentioned Mahomes. Mahomes plays the Eagles. And I think that is the Monday night game. So that should be an interesting game. The Kelsey brothers. And everybody's been talking about the Kelsey brothers seeing Taylor Swift. That's always been kind of the side story with the NFL this year. I think that's been an interesting sideshow for anybody who watches the NFL about what's going on with Taylor Swift and what game she shows up at. But the one bright spot, which kind of came out of nowhere for me, were the Texans. Now, I'm not saying the Texans are having the best year ever. They're 5-4, but their rookie quarterback kind of getting thrown into the mix of things. He's done really good stuff. So my hats are off to C.J. Stroud. 15 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions, a little over 2,600 yards, and they're playing at home against the Arizona Cardinals. So we'll see what happens there. But
he should be in the conversation as MVP. He should be. I don't think he is, and I don't think he'll ever win the MVP this year. They've already got it figured out that it's going to be either Mahomes or Tua or Josh Allen or somebody like that. But no, he's playing every bit as good as all of them. He's over expectations. Is he's doing a lot better than people expected. So
he has exceeded expectations.
Yep.
And I wish they would put some of these teams, quarterbacks that aren't with winning records, in the conversation.
Yeah.
And to include that, I doubt he gets in the conversation, but Dobbs was benched before he got traded. And now that he's at the Vikings, that guy's come alive too. So it's really interesting when you get a guy with a right organization and the right coaches and what's going on behind the scenes for some of these coaches and some of these organizations to maybe flop a little bit, to maybe, hey, let's see how far we can sink to try to get that number 1 pick.
Yeah.
And I'm sure some of those conversations happen. Any more thoughts on the NFL?
No, not really.
Okay. I wanted to talk briefly about the NBA and specifically about a game that's going to happen tonight for a couple of reasons. The Houston Rockets are going to take on the LA Clippers, and the Houston Rockets are on the road. I find this interesting because at the beginning of the season, Harden was trying to get traded. He was doing what he's done the last, he's done this 3 times now in the last 6 years, pushed to get traded. And it's interesting that the Houston Rockets coach, Ime Udoka, said, we don't want him. It's not that it's not that he isn't a good player. It's just we don't want that in the locker room. The other side of that is, have the Rockets turned it around with this new coach? And another question, people are going to blame Harden before they blame the rest of the Clippers. And I don't know if Harden should really handle the majority of the blame because the Clippers have been horrible as of late. Okay. And here's my reasoning for that. I'm going to go back one little bit here. I caught a brief clip before the start of the Clippers' last game, and the sideline reporter stated that Harden said he's not in complete NBA game shape, which I think that looks bad. You're a pro athlete. You were trying to get traded, and you're not in shape. That just screams not professional to me. Now that being said, Harden has 6 seasons where he averaged a double-double. And the categories were points and assists. And I think people have put too much on Harden. I'm not saying he's the best player ever. I'm just saying that I think they've put too much on Harden as he comes into the Clippers, because the Clippers have underperformed the last few years. Last year, they were 44-38. They lost in the first round of the playoffs to the Suns. This year, they're 3-7. Yeah, there's a lot of season left, and having one more scorer could really help them out. But you have all these aging potential future Hall of Famers, okay? 32-year-old Kawhi Leonard, 33-year-old Paul George, 35-year-old Russell Westbrook, 34-year-old Harden. And I think PJ Tucker is 37. Okay, so roll that all up in there, and the last game, which was Harden's first game, 34-year-old Harden put up 21 points in 35 minutes against the Nuggets. And now he's going to be battling the very defensive-focused Houston Rockets. And this will be a test for all the Clippers. And if you look at the other names that I've mentioned, Paul George hasn't played in more than 56 games in any of the last 4 years. But he has consistently averaged over 20 points a game in the last 9 of 10 seasons. In the last 5 seasons, Kawhi has played in more than 55 games, only twice. Westbrook's an amazing player. There were 4 seasons where he averaged a triple-double. And his last one happened when he was a Washington Wizard during the 2021 season. Now, if you look at all these stellar stats, they really mean nothing if they can't get the team to play as a team and win. So in summary, it can't and won't be all of Harden's fault if they don't win a lot of games. But he has been vilified from so many trade demands. I mean, how can you not blame the guy, especially what he does? Every single team he comes in and he's out of shape. Dude, you're a professional athlete and you want to be traded and you want to contribute right away? Stay in shape, man. Stay off the chicken wings and get out of the strip clubs. What are you doing?
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me that you throw that big of a temper tantrum and then you go out of your way to stay out of shape just to prove a point that I don't want to play for you. But you still want to play for somebody else. Okay, that being said, the Clippers at home tonight, Houston Rockets. I love what Ime has done for the Houston Rockets. He has completely turned this program around, I think. And somehow the Clippers are favored by 7.5, and I don't see that happening. I see Houston coming in, smack him in the mouth. I see LA not even scoring 98 points, and Houston walking away with a win. That's what I see happening.
Yeah, I haven't watched a whole lot of the NBA games. I see that the Denver Nuggets look like they're right on track of being the best team in the NBA again. But yeah, I've seen the Clippers on a losing streak. Ever since Harden stepped on the floor, they've lost 6 games. So,
but even without him, they're 3. They have 3 wins. They're 3-7.
Yeah.
So you'd mentioned the Nuggets. The Nuggets have already lost to the Houston Rockets, man.
Yeah.
This Houston Rocket team, they're on fire.
Yeah.
They held the Nuggets to 104 points. They held the Pelicans to 101. They held the Lakers to 94. They were at home, and they had to play the Sacramento Kings twice, once on the 4th and once on the 6th. On the 4th, they held them to 89 points, and on the 6th, they held them to 97 points. And I'm talking, they've won all these games. Somehow they lost to the Spurs and the Warriors, but I really think Ime has his crew, Ime has his crew locked in, and they really want to play defense, and they understand that these defensive battles will help them out in the long run. The other thing, you and I, when we were discussing what we should talk about, you'd mentioned, what's this whole in-season tournament thing going on? And I found out that this is something that they tried in the WNBA. They first started doing it in 2021. And the reason that they did it was to keep, the players more engaged and the teams more engaged, so they didn't try to, again, lose to get that number 1 pick. Now, they have done the same thing with the NBA. And you have the games tonight are part of the group play. If you look at the scores, when you bring up any of the scores, and I'm just, for instance, going to use the NBA scoreboard on ESPN. Underneath each one of it is the NBA in-season tournament group play. So at the end of the group play, they'll take the top one from each group and then also 2 wild cards. And then they play. And they put in some huge incentives. So the person or the team that wins gets $500,000 a player. For winning.
Yep. I've seen that. Yep.
So in an effort to make sure every team tries to win as much as they can, it motivates them with money, but it also keeps the fans more engaged too. You don't have to look at these games like, oh wow, you can really tell that this game really doesn't mean anything to this team because they don't care. They just have to win enough to get to the playoffs or whatever, or you can tell that they're tanking. So the one thing that I do hate about this is the painted courts. I'm old school. I prefer.
Yeah, I don't like them either. That was one of my things I was going to say about it. Yeah.
It doesn't look like a normal court.
No, it don't, and I don't like them.
It's too distracting.
Yeah.
I would hate to play on it. It's tough to see even where the half court line is.
Yeah.
So that being said, that's my one takeaway from the in-season tournament. I don't like the courts. It doesn't sound like Roger likes the courts. But it should be interesting. So all the way through November 28th, each team will play 4 designated group play games on tournament nights, and then 1 game against each opponent in its group, with 2 games at home and 2 on the road. Then they'll have knockout rounds, and it's fun. I think it's fun. It's a good way to keep everybody, the fans and the players and the teams, all motivated to win a little bit more. So, Roger, any other thoughts today?
Yeah, let's just kind of talk about the NHL a little bit. Just kind of going over the standings last night. I was just looking at it, and I seen that there are 8 teams in the NHL now that have 20-plus points in the standings. So there's a lot of good teams playing very well early on. Then I also noticed that this Vancouver team, who is on top of the standings, ahead of the Las Vegas Knights, and they got the top 3 scorers in the league. With the names are Miller, Peterson, and Hughes. All 3 of them have 26 points scored. Top 3 scorers in the whole league. So that Vancouver team looks like they're a pretty good team. Connor Bernard, he's a rookie. He scored a point in every game so far this year. He looks really good.
Dude, that Bernard kid.
Yeah, for Blackhawks. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Not even 19, 18. Yeah. Just on course to be one of the best out there.
Yep. And, of course, the one guy that we always talk about is Ovechkin. He's got 4 goals this year in 14 games. So that looks like about on a pace of about 23, 24 goals this year. So, 3 seasons of 24 goals would put him right at the scoring mark. So
I hope
we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see if he of course, I don't think in an overtime game you'll see him because it's all fast paced. But in shootout games, maybe he gets out there and gets a few goals that way. We'll see. We'll see what happens with him. I mean, he's still a scorer. I mean, he's still out on the court, and they get him the puck and they give him shots on goal, and he hits the puck about as hard as anybody. And I haven't really seen how many minutes a game he's playing. But it's obvious. It's obvious that age is kind of taking a toll, and because he's not on his pace of 50 goals like he has been in the past. So. But we'll see. I'm rooting for the guy.
I'm rooting for the guy too. I wonder if it's a little bit the team surrounding him, because he's on a Capitals team that isn't really the best. And but I'm hoping. My hope is that the Capitals stick with him, because I don't know if there's any other team that would pick him up.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Yeah, and I hope he sticks with it too. I hope the league sticks with him. I hope his team sticks with him, and I hope he can get that.
Yep. So.
Any other thoughts?
No, I don't think so.
I have a quote, and this is for any Michigan fans, or if Harbaugh somehow you listen, which I know there's no, what is the phrase, an ice cube chance in hell of you hearing this, but Vince Lombardi said, if you cheat yourself in practice, you'll cheat yourself in a game. And if you cheat in a game, you'll cheat yourself for the rest of your life. So, Jim Harbaugh, one question for you. Do you see the NCAA doing anything with him in the offseason any more than what the Big Ten has done?
I see Jim Harbaugh somehow making it to the pros.
Coming back?
But I don't know. You hear a lot of people saying no way, and other people are like, yeah. I guess it just depends on how much pressure the NCAA puts on him.
That's kind of the trend, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, Urban Meyer left when he had pressure because he was going to get suspended or whatever, put on probation. The Seahawks coach was having the same issues at USC.
Yeah. I somehow see Harbaugh back in the pros myself, is what I think.
Okay. That's an interesting outlook, because that could totally happen. There's a lot of teams in the NFL looking for head coaches.
Yeah.
And he did great stuff in San Fran. He just butted heads with the guys in the front office.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he's been good everywhere he's went.
He truly has.
So he's a big name. He's a big name, and he but yeah, I think if this year's season just gets to him and he's just like, I don't want this college football anymore. I'll go coach men that have their own life, and if they mess up, it's on them. It ain't on me.
Right. Yeah. Too many rules, too many restrictions in the NCAA.
Yeah. So,
one more Vince Lombardi quote for you. It is time for us all to stand and cheer for the doer, the achiever, the one who recognizes the challenges and does something about it. I hope we have a lot of doers on the Husker football team, and I hope they get the challenge handled in Wisconsin on the road in football. With that being said, have a great day and go watch some sports. Yep. Thanks for listening.
Go Huskers.